Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. As many of you have noticed, the Italian cruiser line is out, and if you haven't been around by the time I made the decision to apply for the community contributor program, and thus also get a press account, and you haven't heard about my personal rules, I'll just quickly reiterate this, because I like the game, and I like to grind out ships by myself. I don't play tech tree ships in the press account unless I have unlocked them in my personal account, and obviously I haven't unlocked all the Italian ships in my personal account, so you won't be seeing me playing the Venezia anytime soon. But regardless, I had a quick look at the tier 4 because I could just free XP up to tier 4 and take a quick peek at the Alberto di Giussano. Now I'm not quite sure it's Di Giussano or Da Giussano. She's named after a legendary war hero who, as far as I could tell, was named Alberto da Giussano and not Di Giussano. So if there's anybody who's more familiar with the Regia Marina than me, then please do let me know which one's correct. Anyway, that's what we call her around here. Now, this thing is was one of the really early Condottieri class cruisers, and she was built as a counter to the French counter to the Italian scout ships after the First World War, because they had a lot of relatively small scout ships that the French were rather afraid of because they had nothing in terms of cruisers that could keep up with these fast little things. So they built the contre-torpilleur, or torpedo boat destroyer, which is how the whole name destroyer really came to being in the first place. And these were basically large destroyers. So the Italians, and again, needed something to deal with those, so they built these very light cruisers. And they sacrificed pretty much all of terms of armor for speed. And they were, in the Second World War, not super useful because of the absolute absence of armor. And the Di Giussano, let's call her that, was used in a supply run, very, very similar to what the Japanese did in Guadalcanal with the Tokyo Express, because the Germans and the Italians were fighting in Northern Africa. But obviously they needed supplies because, well, they were fighting over there, and there's no easy road or railway. You can get supplies from Germany or Italy over there, but the best way to do it was via sea. Now the British would be holding Malta and contest with the Italians over the Mediterranean, and constantly interrupt these supply runs for the obvious reasons that once the enemy is running out of supplies, they can't effectively fight anymore. So they were rather desperate at the time because the British kept sinking their transport ships. So they chose the Di Giussano and another of the same, like one of her sister ships, I think, to do a Tokyo Express style run down the Mediterranean, across and to Tunisia, and to supply very, very urgently needed fuel and other resources. Now, in order to make that happen, they actually packed these cruisers absolutely full of barrels to the point that they couldn't really move their guns anymore on deck. Putting barrels of fuel on deck of something that is afloat and has to deal with air attacks is obviously a rather risky thing, so they did try to sneak by, reasoning that, these things are quick enough to get away from any kind of British or French, well, not French anymore, but for any kind of British or Allied interception. So that didn't quite work because the British had planes with radar on them, which is just really cheating if you're asking me. So they spotted these things and sent a whole bunch of destroyers after them. Now the Italians knew that they were spotted, and they did try to outrun them, but at the end of the day they were caught and torpedoed and shot at very close range. So these cruisers got sunk very quickly before they were even able to really get much of a salvo off against the attacking destroyers. And the fuel on deck really didn't help either. So does that mean that in the game this ship is not very good against destroyers? Well, not quite. So let's take a quick look and see what this thing's capable of. Tier 4 cruiser, very light cruiser. So we're not expecting any kind of torpedo damage reduction or damage reduction, no armor whatsoever. This is basically a oversized destroyer with a citadel in it. She is proper quick with 35 knots. But her the turn time on her rudder is really, really tricky to work with at these low tiers, because while, for example, if you have an American light cruiser at these tiers, they turn a hell of a lot better than this thing. She doesn't like to turn at all, which is really not good when you're trying to brawl or dogfight with these things. So that's not what they're very good at or very good for. In terms of guns, she gets 152mm guns, light cruiser, 4 twin turrets. So we actually have turreted guns here, which means 8 guns, and you can swing the turrets around. They do a very respectable amount of alpha damage on the SAP. As this is the Italian tech trade, you get semi-armor piercing, which, if you haven't been exposed to it before, does more damage than the armor piercing, but has lower penetration than armor piercing. It doesn't have as low penetration as high explosive. It's kind of in the middle, but it doesn't have a big punch, which makes it a little tricky to use. Anyway, we get to that. She also gets torpedoes. They have very good torpedo angles on this ship, but you only get 2 torpedoes on each side. In return, they have a pretty decent range for tier 4 with 6.9 kilometers. She does get some AA, but it's tier 4, so yes, you do occasionally get into carrier battles, but you're not going to shoot down whole air groups at these low tiers. And a 6.9 kilometer concealment means that, well, she could almost stealth torp, but you just don't get enough torpedoes to make it worthwhile, and also she doesn't turn too well. How have I set her up? Large caliber AA damage really doesn't help you very much, and I figured I'd better go with main battery reload, and the 7% traverse speed is much appreciated as well, because these turrets are turning rather slowly. In terms of equipment, I do have the double steering, because again, I think she gets almost a 10-second rudder shift in stock, which is just absolutely atrocious for a cruiser, especially at something as lightly armored as this and something at this tier. And in the first slot, I have the main battery mod 2 just to get the reload down a little bit more. You could also go with the mod 1 for turret traverse, that is entirely, or even with the aiming system to get the torpedo traverse up, but it's generally okay. I haven't really put any supplies in this ship because it's tier 4, and I generally don't, because I figure most of the people playing at tier 4 really don't need to, and maybe want to keep the silver. So we'll play without. Camo, it's tier 4, you don't get the historical, so I'm just going to put the Sea Storm in. You could put Seaborne Assault. It's always a good choice if you want to play the ship for a longer time and you want to spend the 12,000 silver. But for now, the free one will just do the trick, and it gives us a bit of an XP boost out of the whole thing. Now, the commander, which is actually, let's just do on a small tangent here, and let's have a quick look up all the way up to the top of the tech tree, because we have only looked up to the Amalfi. So on tier 10, the Venezia gets fuel smoke, precise aiming, 4 precise aiming, and so you don't need the I think it's called battlefield support. No, sorry, fire supremacy. I'm not sure which one it is, but we'll look at it in a sec. And 3 air defense. So we don't need more precise aiming or AA, but smoke setup. Now these are fuel smokes, so I'll have to try how well the Mistweaver skill actually works, because it does impact it a little bit, I think, but it probably won't be as much otherwise. So how would we build our captain for these things? Well, we don't need battlefield support because 3 AA at tier 10 is probably fine. So we can go with the torpedo alert, which is always a nice skill to have, especially on ships that don't have hydro. Artillery maintenance, yes. And the next one would probably air defense expert, because while you're not an AA cruiser, you want to make the best out of it, especially if you come under concentrated air attack from tier 10 can get pretty nasty. We don't actually need the fire supremacy because you get 4 precise aiming at tier 10, so you can get the survivalist, which is always a really nice skill to have. And if I can get away with having that, I oftentimes prefer it. And then you would probably want, given that you can't set any fires, you probably want generalist. You do want the marksman skill. And Mistweaver, well, it does increase the duration of the smoke, but I haven't looked into the details. So this is something I'm still a bit fuzzy about. I would assume that you could use it even just to get the cooldown. Right, so you get a 33% cooldown reduction for the fuel smokes, which is nice. So if you're really in need and you have it, it might not be a bad one. Also, the alternative would be extinguisher. which is a nice skill to have. But, well. And yeah, other than that, we don't actually have... it's an interesting question what you would take. You would have to take the APCS because you don't actually get any HE, and we don't have a captain skill that impacts subshells specifically. Now, again, an interesting question would be if the APCS actually improves the subshells. And this is something I might have to ask around or experiment around with to find out if that makes any difference. So that would be an interesting question. Anyway, so yes, just a fresh commander for this line. And that's what she looks like now. Let's go. And actually, one thing that I've been asked, and sorry if this makes the video a little bit longer, but one thing that I've been asked in Discord quite a bit, which is, well, obvious question. What do I do with these subshells again? What do I do against battleships in these things? You have pretty much the same, at least that's the approach I'm taking. You have the same problem as you would have in a British light cruiser. You don't have high explosive shells. You can't set fires. Now, I found so far that the 150mm semi-armor piercing can work at against superstructures and sometimes against bow stern sections, but especially with slightly more sturdy battleships, I usually revert to the armor piercing because you are more likely to get full pens, and at the end I do get a lot of bounces on the semi-armor piercing even against weak spots with the 150s. So as well, I have two videos in here because I want to show, well, both. You'll be seeing these ships a lot at these tiers because everybody and their grandmother is currently grinding them. So that's why I'll run two battles. Okay, let's get to that. In our first battle, we are on the infamous Golden Channel. And we are bottom tier. There's a New York and a whole bunch of cruisers on the enemy team and two kamikazes as the destroyers. So given how cruiser heavy this is, this might get quite interesting. Now, where do you go with this ship? Given that she turns very, very sluggishly, is very quick, and you get two turrets up front. So I'm somewhat tempted to go into the cup here, but I'll make it dependent on where that cruiser on my right is going. Because if he's going into the cup, then I will secure the flank.
The target area.
Yep, I agree. We need the cup.
Roger that.
And it looks like he's turning in on my right side. So. Yep, that marblehead there seems to be heading for the cup. Okay, then I'll head around the mountain, which still gives me an opportunity to get in the cup from the side if I need to. But if anybody sneaks around the side here, I can intercept them and make sure that none of the kamikazes or anyone else can make their way towards our battleships here. Okay, it looks like we're holding the cup for now. So a lot of my team's heading in the cup, which is good. So I can secure over here. Now I'm slowing down a little bit. And because I want to see who's there, and I'm probably not going to be out spotting them. But let's see. Okay, I'm detected. I don't see anything, so this might either be one of the kamikazes. No, it's the Emerald. Is it the Emerald? Maybe? I don't think so. He shouldn't have spotted me at this range. Maybe there is a destroyer here. We'll see. Okay, let's open up at the Emerald, and I'll pull him out from the cup, basically. Let's make sure he doesn't go in the cup.
Good job.
And we'll battle this thing. Now, I'm using semi-armor piercing because Emerald is a light cruiser, and if I can actually hit him, I want to see how well this works. Oh, it was a kamikaze. Okay, change of plans. So we need. He decided to go around the island and sneak up on our battleships behind our lines. Well, that's why I'm here, and you know you're not going to have much fun with this. So just some torpedoes to keep him in line. Now, unfortunately, she does turn out her turrets very, very quickly. But I do have torpedoes on the other side, and the kamikaze there might not be aware of it. So I'm just going to use the rear turrets. And as you can see, even with the semi-armor piercing against destroyers, I oftentimes get semi-pens here. Sometimes I get full pens, but sometimes I do manage to get semi-pens as well. They are not super powerful, the subshells on the 150s. Okay, back to, what is it, the Emerald. Okay, we've dispatched of the kamikaze, and now we can deal with the Emerald. I'm not needed in the cup because we're holding the cup. And I want to see what my semi-armor piercing does, and I do get nice full penetrations against the Emerald here. Obviously, British armor piercing is not to be underestimated. And that was a good torpedo spread. So this guy actually didn't just all send him in a single line. Okay, let's drop some torpedoes this way. Now, where is he? Is he coming around the left side? Then he runs into my torpedoes. Is he coming around the right side? And I've got torpedoes ready for him. So slow down and make sure. Okay, I'm spotted. Which way is he coming? He's coming there. Okay, he's slowing down. Drop torpedoes short. And I don't think he'll have a chance to dodge those. And off we go again. Yep, that's 2 torpedo hits on the Emerald. And well, we just need to gun him down, pretty much. So, semi-armor piercing against lightly armored cruisers, yes, definitely is a good choice, because they do a very respectable amount of damage. Okay, let's drop some more torpedoes in his way. And just make sure that, I mean, he's got torpedoes as well, and they're single fire. So, oh, there they come. So I'm just going to try and dodge those. Okay, that's a nice spread. Let's slow down. Let's see if we can dodge those. No, they actually run out. Okay. All right then. I have good range on my torpedoes, so in the meantime, just keep gunning him down. And it doesn't look like he's. I don't need torpedoes anymore. I'll just kill him for him. So yeah, very good alpha damage on this thing. But he might have gotten torpedoes away still. Yeah, he's not shooting, so I think he got torpedoes away. So I'm just gonna stick here and run into beach on this island. Okay, there comes one, and there comes the other batch. So he's definitely done the right thing here. He sent one just in case I'm staying where I am, and he sent a whole other spread the other way, just in case. Because if I was going to turn around the island, I would have run straight into those. But well, I knew they were coming, so that didn't really help him. Okay, it looks like we're losing the Cup at this point, because one of the kamikazes is still alive. So let's head back into the capture circle and see what, well, at least that we get the Cup back. Now, yes, against the Emerald, that all look very easy, but again, we're on tier 4 here, so you can't really expect all that much. But it's definitely important to make sure that nobody sneaks around, and it hasn't quite worked on the other flank. Tier 4 battles tend to get a little scrappier very often. We do need to have our Cup back, because we're down to 3 against 4, and that cruiser there has gotten surrounded, is very much dead. So how are we on points? Okay, 500 to 300, and I'm getting the Cup back. So there's actually no reason. There's no reason for me to fight any of these people. I'm just going to run, because they're not having a points income, and they're going to need to kill us all in order to win, because we've held the Cup for so long. So I'm just going to get the Cup back, and I'm going to run away, because there's no reason for me to risk my ship again. Battleship salvos can delete you very, very quickly in this thing. Even other cruisers can hurt you very badly. So yeah, I'm going to stick with you, because there's really no reason for us to shoot at anybody. We've won this. And oh, there's the kamikaze. Okay, 10 seconds. I'm gonna give him some parting shots. How fast are these shells? Okay, they're a bit faster. And we're just straddling the kamikaze there. Anyway, yeah, now you can shoot at me, because the battle's over and we won. They still wouldn't have won even if they sunk me, though. But you know, keep an eye on the points. That's always quite an important thing to do. So how did that turn out? Yep, we did get the carry there. That's bottom tier, and yep, mid-tier battles. I'm telling you, they can get quite funky. 4 torpedo hits, 2 kills. All right. So the reason we're going to look at a second battle is because, well, we haven't seen any battleships, and the obvious question is, what do you do if you're fighting a battleship with the 150mm semi-armor piercing? Well, I'll show you. And here we are, second battle. Again, we're bottom tier, and we're playing Sand and Sea, which is an interesting map because it's relatively small and you get spotted very, very early on. Enemy team, Giulio Cesare. Sorry, I mispronounced that a couple of videos ago and called it Julio Cesare. Obviously, it's an Italian ship, so it's Giulio Cesare. Goodness gracious. What about Wyoming, Ichizuchi, and a couple other things. Haven't looked. Anyway, where do we spawn? Okay, we're spawning on this side, so we do need to keep an eye out for destroyers. And We do not want to be too close to the battleships. So don't be surprised if you spawn early. Now, I actually was AFK here for a little bit because think life comes at you. Kid needed something. So for a couple of seconds there, I was completely AFK, but this is tier 4. You can afford doing that. There we go. And there's a Königsberg who is opening fire. Okay. And it's Svetlana. Okay, I want to shoot at Svetlana first. And because he seems to be rushing forward. And just leave the Königsberg. I mean, broadsiding stationary Königsberg, surely the battleships can do something about him, right? Is he coming around this side? I've shot off one of his turrets. Okay, Svetlana's got many of those, so that's not an issue for him. Yeah, I don't really want to go any shot off another turret. I don't want to get any closer. Okay, Svetlana's dead. So let's deal with the Königsberg. Now, I do not want to necessarily get into a gun. Oh, torpedoes. Torpedoes, who's that? Okay, that was an instinctive dodge. I didn't even see those coming. Deep water torps. That must be one of the destroyers. Okay, so let's see. In case he comes around that corner there, I'm gonna drop some torpedoes this direction. But just making sure that he doesn't rush. He doesn't rush my battleship, because that Königsberg's sitting there. I'm out of his range probably. So right then, where are you? Now, did you loop around this way? Usually sneaky destroyers coming around this side and trying to get to your cap and to kill the battleships. So you do have to watch out. And yes, I'm detected, and there's nobody I can see who's in range, who's inside my detection range, so it must be the destroyer. Okay, now I'm no longer detected, which means he's probably behind the island. Because he can't see me, because the island's in the middle, so I'm not spotted. So he's either on the other side or he's peeking around here. Either he's trying to ambush me or he's trying to go around the other side. So the only way to find out is to carefully change your speed and course and peek, basically, and see if there's anyone here. Hello? Well, oh, there you are. Okay, you're on the other side. All right, put her in reverse. And there's the Shenyang. Yeah. Hello. Surprise. And that hurts, yes. I need probably 3 salvos to kill this thing. Okay, that's 2. And he drops, of course, he does exactly what I thought he was going to do. He tries to drop the New York and runs for the cup. But, yeah, no, that's not going to happen, bro. There she goes. Okay. Now that leaves me uncomfortably close to Wyoming. But that Wyoming is probably shooting at our battleship over there. So let's drop some torpedoes on him. And yeah, he's not even looking at me. So semi-armor piercing, mostly bounces. So I'm switching over to the armor piercing. And these torpedoes should hit. And I'm going around the other side because the turrets don't turn very quickly on these things. So I'm just going to go on the other side. It doesn't look like he has actually noticed that I'm here. And I'm just unloading armor piercing into his bow section. Or maybe he has noticed. Once your secondaries fire, you know that you've been spotted. But for now, he seems to be otherwise occupied. There's also the Ichizuchi. So I do want to kill that Wyoming first. And then get to the next one. So please do give me a second here. And again, all his guns are pointing the other way. So, okay. Someone else can kill it because he's seen me. He's trying to turn. So I'm going to make sure that I'm staying on his other side and just dropping the torpedoes around a little bit on the rear. Okay, now his guns are pointing the wrong direction. I've shot off his rudder so he can't easily turn. Okay, the Wyoming has turned around, so I do have to be a little bit careful. I just want to kill that Ichizuchi. Okay, there she goes. Now the Wyoming next. Now Wyoming is actually shooting at me, so no more broadsiding. And it looks like the other destroyer has made its way into the cup circle, but I don't think that's necessarily a problem. Okay, now I'm thinking about switching back to the semi-armor piercing, but he's on such low health that I can just kill him from here. And I don't really even need to aim. I'm just going to fire the superstructure. Because if I'm bow in, he can't easily hit me. Now he's fired his guns, and he's very much dead at this point. Right, come on, die. There you go. So yeah, armor piercing against weak spots does probably a lot more damage than the semi-armor piercing that tends to bounce. Oh, the destroyer is still around. Okay. But it's the last destroyer alive, and we're capping. So I'm just going to try and shoot at him from here. And yep, still got 2 hits in. Again, against destroyers, extremely dangerous guns. So destroyer is not running for the cap. We've got 1 cruiser at the cap. We're capping the enemy. So I can just go and leisurely hunt that destroyer. Let's see if I can actually still get him before we're capping them out. But yeah, we've very much got this. He's got nowhere to run. There's another cruiser up there, and I'm just gonna try and catch him. Yeah, so that's how you basically deal with battleships, at least at tier 4. At like tier 6 or something, that's a completely different story, because the people, well, first of all, people don't give you this kind of opportunities, and it's positively suicidal to try and do that. Although I have done this with the Nuremberg as well in tier 6 and just sailed. But the Nuremberg is a hell of a lot more maneuverable than this thing. She really doesn't turn all that well. Well, she does once you've got the rudder all the way to this, but the rudder itself doesn't turn too well. But yes, battleship, armor piercing on weak spots and torpedoes. Everything else, especially light cruisers at this tier, you want to use the semi-armor piercing because it does more damage. Right, that's been going on for long enough. And that's it for today. Thanks everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye.